where faith, culture, and politics collide. This is Give Me Liberty Media. This is the Tyler Morgan Show on Relentless Daring Media Network. Welcome back to Land of Bourbon Bad Decisions. This is the Tyler Morgan Show live on twitch.tv/Tyler Morgan Show, or maybe you're checking this out later on youtube.com/at the Tyler Morgan Show, or maybe you're just checking this out on a regular old-fashioned podcast. Remember to subscribe, rate, review, and share. And for the YouTubes, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. All right, before I get into the wild and wacky news of the week, although I don't really know why I call it wild and wacky. Well, it's election season. That's why it is wild and wacky. But before I really get into it, let me tell you about coffee. Yes, that's right. Wonderful, wonderful, delicious coffee. And I get my coffee from American Pride Roasters. American Pride Roasters prides themselves in home roasted, home blended, and shipped direct to you coffee. They have so many great blends of it. I am a fan of the Calvin Coolidge, who I've been drinking a lot of lately. The Teddy Roosevelt was really good. I really love the Thomas Paine Age of Reason remix, which is 100% Robusta beans. And use the Robusta beans for a good flavor with an extra caffeine kick. So check them out today. All their great lineup of coffee, the coffee drops, if you want something kind of a chocolatey and sweet, but with that little that comes from the blast coffee. Check them out, aprcoffee.com. Historically great coffee. All right, so attacks on veterans. Now, a lot of this, these aren't, physical attacks, but it still makes you go, huh. Here lately, there's been a rash of dumb videos on social media from pro-Hamas crazy people, porn stars, and the like, calling for veterans who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan to get PTSD. Now, it's not much of a call for it because, a lot of us have it due to our time over there. Many of us have experienced things that we don't want to recall. Things that's really hard to talk about. We've seen things that have found a place in our brains that makes daily life difficult. And to hope that people who've somehow compartmentalized combat in such a way where they don't have PTSD. I mean, I applaud those guys. I really do. I wish my brain worked that way. I wish my brain hadn't developed this weird physio-emotional response to the things that I saw that caused my PTSD. And the guys who've managed to separate those things out and compartmentalize, so when they remember XYZ, their body does not have a physical response. Physical memory is what some people call it, where your body goes back to that setting of when it happened. But you have this, and she's a fellow Twitch streamer, Frogan. She's always in a hijab with the headband, and she went on a spiel about how she hoped soldiers, you know, who actually faced combat gets PTSD. Wow, it's very charitable of you. And a lot of people were backing her play on this. Like, yeah, you're following orders. You know who else is following orders? Nazis were following orders. Okay, cool. That's a dumb thing to say, but whatever. But 99% of combat faced over there was not initiated by US troops. It was initiated by Iraqis, Afghanis, Jordanians, Syrians, people who were coming in from outside of the country to fight. Many of them who do suffer from PTSD were victims of explosively formed penetrators, EFPs, copper plates that were turned into a directional charge that when the explosion went kaboom, the copper turned into this cone of molten metal that just burned its way through the armor of Bradleys, tanks, strikers, uh, MRAPs, mine resistant ambush protected vehicles, and did horrible, horrible things to the troops inside. They're truck drivers, 88 Mikes, who their mission isn't combat. Their mission is as a support element, providing logistical support and transporting supplies and equipment via ground, via road. And then they get hit by roadside bombs and they get ambushed. And yeah, you did have, certain areas where, the violence was initiated by U.S. soldiers and Marines. And a lot of that was places where we established rules of engagement that, hey, if you are a military age male out of doors from this time to this time, you are a legitimate target. These are places like Fallujah and Ramadi, places that were real hotbeds of insurgent activity in Iraq. And so these soldiers are over there. It's not they're following orders to do these cruel and inhumane things. The soldiers who did do cruel and inhumane things, like the people who were responsible for stacking up naked Iraqis in a cheerleader pyramid at dadgummit, the name of the prison complex or the prison, Abu Ghraib. It had slipped my mind for a second. Guess what? Those people were tried and actually convicted of doing horrible things to enemy combatants, as well they should. While I make fun of the kinder, gentler army, we also have certain responsibilities as soldiers to, care for detainees and enemy prisoners of war, and to treat them with a certain modicum of dignity and respect, regardless of how they would treat us, regardless of how they have treated us. So for this Frogan to come out and be saying stuff like this is really stupid. And then Mia Khalifa, the Lebanese-born porn star who has been banned from her country for being a porn star, has also come out and said the same stupid crap, which is I find hilarious because she has also put out a video in the past talking about how she has PTSD from being a porn star, about how when she goes out in public and I get so triggered because when people look at me, they are they looking through my clothes at my body? Well, if you don't want people looking through your clothes at your body, number one, if you're even a moderately attractive woman, dudes are going to look at you and they're going to say, huh, I bet she looks good without those clothes on. Because that's how men think. I'm a man. I'd be lying if I said I haven't thought that looking at a woman. And but you made a career out of getting naked and performing sex acts in front of a camera. And then you're going to claim victimhood that that's all people see you for. I don't know anything about Mia Khalifa other than she's a porn star. And honestly, if I were to be walking down the streets and see Mia Khalifa, I would not know who she is to be like, oh my God, that's her. I bet she looks really good underneath them clothes. No. She could be like, it would be like on Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I know. I'm going total Marvel nerd here. I'm on Guardians of the Galaxy when the big bad arrives on the Nowhere space station. And Drax, played by Dave Bautista, goes on this rant about, how he's going to kill the bad guy. And the bad guy just looks at him, I don't know who you are. That would be me. Me and Khalifa could start screaming in my face about blah, blah, blah. You're not looking at me. You're looking through my clothes, blah, 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 blah. I'd just be like, lady, I don't know who you are. Just go away. Get out my face. Absolutely ridiculous. And then airlines are getting in on this. I don't remember if I talked about this, but Delta Airlines, I know was on Twitter about this. Then this is probably a week and a half ago where it broke that a Marine veteran, she was traveling via Delta Airlines and she was wearing a shirt that was very, very anti-suicide. And it was directed at military members about getting help. 100% innocuous shirt. And the stewardesses on Delta threatened to have her removed because of the violent language on the shirt. And it's like, and she's like, what violent language? You know what violent language we're talking about. Because I'm wearing a shirt that tells people their lives matter and they should get help. They should turn to help. If they hit such a low point, they feel like, toaster baths are a viable cure for what's going on in their lives. So she had to go out in the jetway and pull a shirt out of her carry-on and pull it over the one she was wearing, or change out of the shirt she was wearing. But, because in a public area like the jetway, being a woman, peeling your shirt off to swap it out, that seems kind of sexy harassment, if you ask me. And I don't mean sexy as in, oh, they give you a little harassment there. No, I mean, mean it in the worst of ways. where make a woman go into a public area and change a shirt. And so far Delta has just been absolutely just crickets on it. And it's like, why won't you respond, Delta? Why have you not figured out what flight that was, what crew that was, and beaten them all stupid for subjecting not just a female to, hey, go out there and change your clothes, but a female veteran wearing a shirt that highlights a problem within the veteran community and offers words of encouragement to them. Hell, anyone going through a dark period in their life who might be contemplating what they call it on Unsubscribe, sewer slides. Someone who is contemplating taking a sewer slide and they see that shirt and it doesn't cure their problems to see a shirt, but it reaffirms that, hey, there are people who care about you. There are people that want you to stick around. It's like seeing shirts that say "You matter." To the average person, they're going to see that shirt that says "You matter." Oh yeah, I matter. Oh boy. But to a person who is in a dark depression, and to a person that is contemplating such things, where it's in their head that they don't matter, that if they're not here, the world will be better off, and all these other really dark things, seeing something as simple as "You matter" and encouraging them to get help. That is something we need in the world. That even just a modicum of "I care" when somebody thinks nobody does. It turns lives around. And I can relate to that. We in the military, suicide prevention is, one of those 350-1 topics, AR 350-1 command leadership, where once a year minimum, you go over suicide prevention, reaching out to soldiers, knowing your soldiers, knowing your battle buddies, understanding that they could go through hard times and what you need to do to help them if they are. I was in Afghanistan 2016, and I had a soldier, Jake. And Jake was this wild, crazy, bouncing off the walls kid, always in a great mood. If you're in a bad mood, he's going to move heaven and hell to make you in a better mood. We had a great relationship as me and NCO and him as my soldier. And then one day he is just 180 degrees and about a mile from his personality where it normally is. And these are things they tell you to look for in these suicide prevention things. And we had a security shift in the truck on the airfield. And every hour or so, soldiers, rotate through. He gets relieved. He goes to the next station. But while he's with me, I'm seeing that he's in this funk that's really unusual for him. I've seen him in a funk before, but this was just completely different. I said, Jake, I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you aren't. But I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned you might be having some really bad thoughts. But if you hit a point where hurting yourself seems like the best option, I will be in my CHU container housing unit. My door will be unlocked. Come and get me, and I will get you help. I believe those words saved a life because him knowing an NCO cared when he had so many issues with other NCOs in the platoon that he didn't know what leaders he could turn to. Him knowing he could come to me, he came to me that evening. He dropped a razor blade that he had picked up at one of his posts, dropped it on my desk, sat down on my bed, and just started crying. And Delta is going to go and kick off a veteran wearing a shirt that said what I said. I'm not incensed. I'm pissed off that they would do such a god awful thing. Because it's touchy, it's gross. I don't want to think about that. Is good for you, Delta, and all of your stupid, self-righteous. We can't have other people feeling bad. Stewardesses that would do that to a female passenger. Veteran status aside, a female that you would send out in the jetway to change her shirt. I try really hard to keep this podcast PG-13 so I don't have to go through and, well, how do I bleep this out? I am not that good of an audio producer. I admit that. But the words that best describe my opinion on you, Delta, is to eat a satchel of Richards. You eat the entire satchel. And that brings me to American Airlines. American Airlines had an issue recently with a combat veteran who had lost his leg, and the other leg has a lot of hardware on it to keep it stable. This dude is a beast, man. He's won like 21 lifting awards with one leg and the other leg that doesn't work right. And he was invited to be a guest of an event. And the event organizers bought him a ticket knowing he has certain accommodations that need to be met for him to fly because he's disabled. They pick the seat they want him to be in because we're going to make sure we take care of this guy. This dude has given so much for us. We are going to take care of him. He goes to American Airlines. He goes check in, and they allow a lady to cut in front of him. Okay, inconvenient, but whatever. And then they say, "Oh, well, we can't put you in that seat. We're going to put you back in coach." The dude is 6'6" and 280 some pounds. I'm 6'4" and 270 some pounds. The difference is I'm fat. This dude is a freaking monster. Verified by the fact that he's being recognized for his 21 awards as a weightlifter. And when he says, ma'am, I'm disabled. This seat was purchased as an accommodation for my disability. Do you not know what the American Disability Act? And there's another act that was brought up in the articles about that deals specifically with airlines and making accommodations for disabled persons. And it's not like can't tell he's disabled. He's literally missing a leg. The titanium one is pretty obvious that that's not a real leg, and all the hardware on the other leg makes it pretty obvious he can't really move that leg well. And the ticket agent had the audacity to say, if you don't like it, fly another airline. Wait, what? American Airlines, your ticket agent just blatantly violated not just one, but two federal laws concerning legal obligations that you have to make accommodations for disabled people. But this man was lucky in that a fellow passenger on the same flight as him, who was flying first class, was so incensed that she she went up to the counter and told the booking agent, "Give him my ticket. I will sit in coach where you're trying to put him." Because there's no sense in that. The bystander had more common sense, more decency in her pinky toe than all of American Airlines and all of Delta combined. It is unfathomable that in this day and age, after 20 years of war, that we treat veterans the way we do in some jobs. And I get it. As a veteran, I don't want people to just wait on me hand and foot. I don't want people to put me on some sort of pedestal. I want to be treated with dignity and respect. Like every other American, if I'm wearing a shirt that someone doesn't necessarily agree with what it says, I shouldn't be put out in the hallway and forced to change it. If it's, like I said, someone might not agree with the message, but it's not something that's overly offensive or blatantly offensive. If I show up wearing a shirt that says "die inwards die," don't just have me change my shirt. Kick my ass. I give you permission. If I show up wearing something incredibly racist, just don't even have me change my shirt. Just kick my ass and use it to wipe the blood up off my face. Permanently sully that son of a gun. Like I said, a people care, get help shirt when it's bandied about all the time. 22 veterans a day take their lives. I don't think that number is necessarily accurate, but it's still just a major issue with veterans. I've had veteran friends who have taken their lives after getting out of the military. And it's tragic every time you hear about it. Here on Fort Leonard Wood near me, we had a soldier who went missing and her body was found in a dumpster on post. Tragic case. And a local business owner got on her Facebook page and say, "Hey, I don't know if the family of this soldier is on this is in this page in this group, but I want you to know that the community cares. And if there's anything you need, if you have services here and get in touch with me, I will provide meals free of charge to however many people. I mean, that's amazing. She doesn't she doesn't owe this young sergeant's family a thing, but out of the kindness of her heart and the love that she has for the soldiers in this community, she would do that. That is the kind of stuff that we'd be better off having from the everyone in the world, and not just about veterans, not just about taking care of our service members, but just people in general. We don't see that often anymore. And when you do see it, it's this woman who running her restaurant. It's like I'm sure she knows that there will be a publicity bump. But the thing is, I've met her and she doesn't care about that. A tornado went through and did a decent amount of damage to the building that her restaurant is in. And when the community came together to, make sure she was okay and, help replace stuff that was damaged, she was touched. When her mom was killed in a car accident and the community came together to support her, she was touched. When a drunk driver killed several members of her family when they were coming up for her mom's funeral, the outpouring in the community put the first incident to shame. That's what we need in this country. There are people they don't know the owner of the restaurant. They might not agree with her politically. I don't even know her politics. All I know is she's a damn good cook. I don't care about her politics because so many of us have gotten to the point where, yeah, but she's a Democrat. Well, but he's a Republican. And we use politics to just denigrate and just wipe away any good that a person does. And it's shameful. Here we are coming up on the presidential election here in a week and a half. And for the next week and a half, it's the insanity of the last 12 months is just going to double, triple even. But here we are. You have singers, songwriters putting out all their messages for actors, putting out all their messaging for one side or the other. Well, 95% of it is to the left. And people are sick of it. Even Democrats are getting mad at Bruce Springsteen, just constantly blah, 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 blah. Rich white people bad, which is really weird coming from a rich white guy. You ever notice that? Mark Ruffalo, talking about how we need to tax the rich, but knowing Mark Ruffalo also has very, very well paid accountants who go out of their way to make sure that he pays as little as possible. I never see Mark Ruffalo, Mark Hamill, or anyone like that, posting videos about how good they are. Because look, I'm writing a check for this much extra to the IRS because I need to pay my fair share. You never see that, but they'll just beat you over the head with their politics about how you know the rich keep getting richer. Meanwhile, their ticket prices just keep getting higher and higher. They keep turning in movies that their salary for the movie is unfathomably large. Meanwhile, they tell us poors that, well, if you need better people to take care of you, vote for Democrats, and the rich people need to pay more. It's like, well, I don't want someone to take care of me. I want to take care of myself. But sure, you just keep going on with that. It is absolutely ridiculous. And speaking of ridiculous, as soon as I can find the story. So I'm going to cover this real quick. And I have something I'd like to say to Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's here in, hit my desk with my knee. Probably saw the shake if you're watching this on video. So it's kind of some election stuff. But so 3 years ago, the FBI got evidence of voter registration fraud. And now it seems like there's a new scheme underway. I just saw a post today from Pennsylvania where you know there seems to be some shenanigans afoot. I don't know which side is doing the shenanigans. I have my ideas, but the lefties who are you know gloating about it seem to think that it's Republicans up to it. I don't know. Haven't seen the full story of it, but just very interesting. All right, so this is just the news. If there's any sort of editorial screw up, I will do my best to let it go because I don't have too much time left. In the aftermath of the messy 2020 election, Michigan police sent to the FBI a strong body of evidence documenting a multi state scheme to submit fraudulent voter applications. 3 years later, nobody can explain what the Bureau did with the case, as a similar scheme has now surfaced in the battleground state of Pennsylvania with less than 2 weeks ago before Election Day. Prosecutors in Lancaster County said Friday that they had uncovered a large-scale scheme to submit fraudulent voter applications that were collected at shopping malls and other locations. Lancaster County District Attorney Heather Adams told a news conference that detectives found about 60% of some 2,500 voter registrations submitted in recent days to the county's election office were fraudulent. At this point, it is believed the fraudulent voter registrations are connected to a large-scale canvassing operation for voter registrations that date back to June, Adams said. The prosecutor said that while detectives continue to review applications, they have confirmed fake names, identifications, and signatures were used to submit applications and create potentially fake voters. In some cases, real voters' names were used, but the voters said they neither approved nor signed the registrations. The district attorney said the majority of applications were from residents in the city of Lancaster, according to a joint statement from the county district attorney and the Board of Elections. Applications were also received from residents in Columbia, Elizabethtown, Mount Joy, Akron, Ephrata, Stevens, Strasburg, as well as other locations across Lancaster County. These campuses took place at various shopping centers, parking lots of grocery stores, other businesses, sidewalks, and parks. At this point, we have confirmed violations of our code. So Adams added that she was aware of at least 2 other counties that may have similar concerns about recent voter registration applications dropped off in large batches. Staff notes that numerous applications appeared to have the same handwriting and were filled out on the same day. The confirmed indicators of fraud that detectives came across were inaccuracies with the addresses listed on the applications, fake and false personal information, as well as false names. Also, applications that had names that did not match the provided social security information. Lancaster is a politically influential county in the battleground state and home to a large Amish population that both parties have courted. Pennsylvania State Department, which oversees elections, praised Lancaster County for its quick actions. The department has been in contact with the county and is offering support in its ongoing investigation. The department applauds the efforts of the election staff in their diligent work spotting this potential fraud and bringing it to the attention of law enforcement. More blah, blah, blah. The scheme uncovered in Lancaster mirrors a similar operation that Michigan police investigated in 2020 in Muskegon that was referred to the FBI, which has yet to announce any arrest or charges. Huh, weird. Isn't that odd? In August 2023, Michigan Attorney General's office confirmed that there was a state investigation into thousands of suspected fraudulent voter registrations during the 2020 election. That investigation was referred to the FBI, the Bridge, Michigan reported. Danny Wimmer, press secretary for the Michigan Attorney General, told Just the News at the time that among 8,000 to 10,000 voter registration forms that were submitted to the Muskegon court before the 2020 general election, some were, after review, suspected to be fraudulent. Yeah, so now they have something similar going on in another state, and probably others, but only one state has enough cojones to actually call it out. And it's just nutso. Now you have the DOJ suing states trying to clear the voter registrations of ineligible voters. Kamala Harris was just given a bone by a federal judge in Virginia who, sided with the DOJ that, well, you just can't go around taking people off the voter rolls, blah, 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 blah. Besides, it has to be within 90 days. That's what Congress said. Of course, Glenn Youngkin, governor of Virginia, had issued the executive order to remove these people from the list 90 days out. And this is legislation that was signed into law by then governor, is 18 years ago, then governor and the future running mate of one Hillary Clinton, Tim Kaine. So for 18 years, they've been clearing the vote of non-citizens. So that's, at least 2024, that's one. 2020, two elections. 2016, we're going back 8 years. That's Donald Trump. We remember 2016. So going back 12 years, that gets you to 2016, 2012. Going back 16 years gets you to 2008. And the federal election in 2006. So why was it perfectly fine during those years, but now suddenly it's an issue? But Glenn Youngkin has said they're going to try to get an emergency injunction. Good luck. God bless. Godspeed. All right, so my little open letter to the board of Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Recently saw on social media that you have partnered with vote.org as a way to get your customer base to register to vote. I find some issues with this. I mean, I know the Wild Turkey Federation and the NRA, and so many other good organizations for conservation, shooting sports, guns, have supported you and partnered with you throughout the years. But this vote.org partnership, I have questions. And I understand as a business chain that routinely courts civic organizations to that way you can be a civically responsible company, and making sure people are registered to vote, I think, is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, but vote.org. Vote.org is a left wing organization. And I can verify that when you go to vote.org and it says donate now. And I linked there from the email I got as a person on the mailing list of Bass Pro Shops. You go to the link and you'll see donate now. And then you click donate now. It takes you to secure.actblue, the leftist bundling organization. So I have to ask, who vetted vote.org before Bass Pro decided that that's who they wanted to partner with? They wanted to partner with an organization that bundles money and gives to candidates and to other NGOs that work to destroy everything that Johnny North built Bass Pro on, everything that Cabela's was built on. Why would you do that? I understand. Again, you want to have the air of a civically minded company that wants people to do the right things, but you turn around and you vote for a bundling, or you you partner with a place that seeks money through another organization that works to fund everything that goes against what Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops was built on. Act Blue supports candidates that would love to see resident or you know game fishing eliminated, game hunting eliminated, because how dare you kill that beautiful animal? Now that beautiful animal is like 12 years old. His teeth are rotted out of his head. He's going to die soon. We did him a solid. And we took out enough animals that's going to keep the populations of said animal in check for several years, so that way you don't have an overpopulation, which leads to overeating of resources, which leads to starvation, which leads to disease and death, and way too many turkey buzzards, way too many of them. But why would you partner with those people? Why would you partner with Act Blue, who gives money to the Brady campaign, to every town, to Mom's Demand? I know the firearms are not the biggest individual chunk of your revenues. I got that. But what percentage of revenue is zero? Should these clowns get their way and the Second Amendment is overturned and people buying guns is a thing of the past? Why would you partner with them? Why would you partner with the organization that also supports the Greenpeaces and the Sierra Clubs of the world? Clubs that would love to end hunting and fishing, the things that make Johnny North's Bass Pro Shops what it is today. How can you do that and then turn around and look at your customer base and say how much you love the great outdoors? They are like having partnering with vote.org and their Act Blue, uh, I won't call them puppet masters, cohorts. We'll call them cohorts. Partnering with them and their cohorts, someone's going to be like, oh, I like what they do. They're getting me to vote. I'm going to give them money. And then it's money that goes against everything that the majority of your customer base loves. It's like having a pet rattlesnake and seemingly forgetting that you have a pet rattlesnake. This is a uh I know this analogy was on Glenn Beck. I'm just like trying to remember who he was talking to when he said this. But the thing about having a pet rattlesnake, while it is scary, and I would not recommend the average person take up residence with a rattlesnake in their home, but to a cautious and trained person, rattlesnake's not that big of a deal. Yeah, they're still scary. They could still, that it could still bite you. And if you cannot get help, you're done. But to the average person thinking that they could have a rattlesnake as a pet, it's going to end up badly because you're going to forget that this thing that can bite and kill you is in fact something that can bite and kill you. Like the people who lose their innate sense of fear when it comes to fire and they become a fire bug and then they're shocked that their house burns down. That is what partnering with vote.org and all of their lefty cohorts is. They are a rattlesnake. And if you forget that, it's going to bite you and it's not going to be good when it does. So, again, to the leadership of Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, I strongly encourage you to find anyone that wants to get out the vote and is not going to have some sort of political ideology going into the voter registration process where they're going to be looking for certain people, where they're going to be looking for how people react to certain control group questions. Just straight down the middle. They have some lefty tendencies, they have some righty tendencies, but at the end of the day, they don't care really that much about one or the other. They just want to make sure someone who can do the job gets in office. We should be looking for people. You should be looking to partner with groups that want to find that guy and get them in office. The guy who's not a rattlesnake who could bite and tear down and destroy Cabela's in a single session, really. It is a situation that needs to be handled with care, obviously. But at the same time, you need to get away from because you're going to end up people are going to end up sending money to vote.org because oh my gosh, they vote with vote.org or they're partner with vote.org for getting people registered. Then they donate and it goes to Act Blue and There's been reporting that's kind of sketchy in the past about who they give their money to or not. So please find someone, not necessarily a right wing group, not necessarily a left wing group, but find someone who makes sense. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's, where you really don't know which way they swing on politics. Find this group that is willing to take your money to do registrations, and they're not going to push people to want to vote a certain way or not. They want to make sure that they're registered to vote, they know where to go, and they know what they're voting on. That's who you should be partnering with instead of vote.org. All right, so that's going to wrap it up. So, it's been a day. It's been a long day. And I know I get a little rambly when I have these days. If you're seeing this on video, my eyes are, the rims of my eyes are all red. It's not from smoking the dope because it's just, the other night I didn't get to bed until 3:30 a.m. and had to be up at 6:30. And I'm just still behind on that sleep. But for those of you who stuck with me to the very end, thank you so very much. It means so much to me. If you're seeing this on video, you'll notice that there's a new sign over my shoulder warning you that I do not play well with liberals. I'm trying to behave. I'm not trying to start any fights right now, but want to warn people that, yeah, we might not get along. But again, thank you so much for listening. As always, I ask the same four things. Number one, please, please, pretty please, subscribe to my podcast channel, YouTube, Twitch. If I'm there, please check it out and subscribe. Once you've done that, uh, subscribe, rate the show. Look for 5 stars. I'll accept 4, and give me all those thumbs up on the old YouTube there. Once you have once you have subscribed and rated, please review. Say something nice about the show. If you have something negative to say, please say it in a constructive manner. That way I can work on it. Believe me, I've dumped a lot of time into the podcast, believe it or not. So if wow, that was a quiet yawn that just kind of hit out of the blue. Um, if there's anything that you don't like about the show, you'd like to see fixed, well, you can write a nice review that says, I really enjoyed the show, but I had issues with XYZ. That's helpful. I like that. If you're not helpful, if you're just wanting to, have a gotcha moment and you say something mean on, YouTube or, uh, you know, one of my podcast channels or any of that, believe me, I will make fun of you. It's not that I don't want your help in correcting my you know, bad situation should, I have something that needs corrected. It's just that there's a certain way that you deal with people. And acting like a clown, thinking that's going to get me to fix something, that's just going to make me make fun of you. Facts of life. Ask the guy who said I'm a wannabe Alex Jones. I still make fun of him because it's fun. So again, thank you for listening. You've liked or you've subscribed, rated, reviewed. Now the hard part, sharing. Send this episode to someone you think you will love it. Send it to someone you think this will drive them absolutely bat crap crazy. Either or, I am happy to make a friend of yours happy or an enemy of yours an enemy for life. It's just the way I roll. Again, thank you so much for listening. And as always, have to click the right buttons. Stay relentless. Tyler Morgan Show is a Relentless Daring media production. The Tyler Morgan Show is supported by its listeners. To support the show, go to ko-fi.com/Tyler Morgan Show to donate there, or relentlessdaring.com and hit the donate button at the top of the page to set up your donation. All music used in the Tyler Morgan Show is used